All right, we are here on the Trent Acid Tribute Radio Show, and on the line with me, I have CZW's own DJ Hyde. DJ, how are you doing?
I'm making it through the day, my friend. How are you?
I wish we could be speaking on better terms, but, you were close, with Trent, and of course, working with him in CZW and all that, and I was wondering, what is one fond memory you have of Trent?
A fun memory? Well, Trent, if you talk about Trent, there's a lot of stories you can tell about Trent. Trent was always about having fun. Probably the most fun that I've ever had with him was one day and this is a story that, is just a typical Trent day. One day he's driving through a Wendy's drive-through, and, the kid who's at the window is a big fan of Trent's, and, sees the guys in the car have CZW shirts on and blah, 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 blah. Trent's in the back seat. Kid doesn't know it. Telling him, hey, this Trent Acid's the man. He's the greatest thing in the world. And then, Trent just pops out. He goes, hey, do you want my autograph, Ron? The kid just, totally flips. And then, he goes, yeah. He goes, well, get me a chicken sandwich. And it was just, one of those moments that were really funny. Trent was notorious for doing things like that. He was just that type of guy. He was always in the locker room trying to have fun. He's one of those kind of people that when he walked in, he was there to have a good time and to do what he loved, So it's one of those, it's just a little story. I could probably sit here and ramble off a million different things about Trent, but that's just how he is.
What is one thing you feel Trent would want his fans to remember him for?
Oh, man. Trent, I'm not real sure what he would want. Trent was a very odd guy, he would just pretty much want him to be known for him. When Trent was on, he was the best. When Trent came to work, he could sit there, he could take a crowd, and he could make them feel anything he wanted, and I think that's what they'll best want him to, be remembered for his work in the ring, for being a star. Roughly, that's what it is.
What stood out to you most about Trent?
Pardon me?
I said, what stood out to you most about Trent?
Trent had what in this business is called it. And he didn't just have it as in a wrestling ring. He had it in the locker room. When Trent Acid walked into a building, whether it was in a ring, a locker room, a party, or even just at your house, you knew Trent was there. There was something about Trent that just, he was different than everybody else. When he would walk into a room, people would notice. And it wasn't because he was, loud and obnoxious or anything like that. It was just you had a feeling like something was going on, and you just had to turn to pay attention.
Now, if you were to write a book about Trent Acid's life, what would you call it?
Oh, man, Trent Acid's life. Probably call it highs and lows, man. Trent, Trent has had some tremendous highs, and, his demons kind of caught up with him at times, and I don't know if he knew how to really handle them, and but I think everybody can relate to it, and that's something that I think would definitely be, some book that I would write.
Missionary, got any questions?
Yeah, hey, pleasure to talk to DJ Hyde, which could have been underneath better circumstances. But I wanted to know,
no problem, guys.
In your opinion, who was one of Trent Acid's heroes and inspirations in life?
If you ask Trent would tell you his only hero is himself. I think Trent looked up to Masahiro Chono, guys like that, Shawn Michaels. If you just looked at the guys that he kind of mimicked,
right?
And some of his characters and things came from, who defined him. Trent in the ring was Michael Verdi. Outside the ring, they were the same guy.
Right.
But just his style, his presence. The other thing is the ECW guys. When Notorious, when Trent was 14, him and a good buddy of his, Billy Reel, were sitting in those stands and said, we're going to do this someday. And he's out there watching guys like Tommy Dreamer and Raven. And, basically he did. He stepped up, and at one point he was selling out that same building that Tommy Dreamer and Raven.
Wow. Now, Trent Acid's crowning achievement or crowning moment in his career, in your opinion?
I think a lot of people would say winning Best of the Best. 2 was his defining moment. I mean, that show, not only just for himself, but in CZW, was one of the shows that early on made this company a huge success. I mean, he took on some of the best in the world and went out there and won that tournament. Personally, I would probably say Cage of Death 5. I mean, Cage of Death is CZW's biggest show, and when Trent has the opportunity to perform in front of a large crowd, he makes magic happen. And he was kind of out of his element and doing a hardcore match, and he still shined just as much as anybody else. And I mean, that was Trent, but Best of Best 2 is probably going to be up there, and I think Cage of Death 5 would be right back with it.
One last question, DJ Hyde. What's one thing about Michael Verdi you'll miss?
What do I miss about Verdi, man? What's the most? Probably just the emotion. Me and Trent were never great brothers or anything like that. He's had a lot of other friends and people in this business that were a lot closer than me and him. But even when we had a problem, you know, me and him could have got into a huge argument, had a fist fight, and if I would have had a problem, whether it be, you know, running CZW or you know, something with my family or a girl or just a friend, I could have called him and said, hey man, like, yo, you know, I know we got some heat and, you know, we got some issues, but can you help me out with this? Or, hey, can you give me some advice? Or, what do you think about this? Trent was one of those guys that every time we talked, it was always emotional. And
yeah.
And I can remember, you know, I mean, even when I took over CZW about a year ago, and something that'll always stick out to me, I you know, kind of let Trent go because he had some demons and it was kind of affecting him, and I couldn't have it in my locker room. And we had a pretty emotional conversation where the table was flipped, you know, and it was more me kind of coming to him, and that's just something I'll always remember about him, and something I'll never forget.
I have one last question for you, and that's what can fans expect from Acid Fest?
Oh man, Acid Fest. Acid Fest is going to be the combination of all of Trent's friends, his closest family in the business, getting together, putting on a show for him. I mean, this show means a lot to a lot of people that are in wrestling, and it means a lot to me personally. I mean, I'm currently, I don't know if a lot of fans are aware or not, I am the new owner of CZW. And this man basically single-handedly at one point put this company on his back and carried it. And he's helped me personally in the business, you know, from the time I came up 10 years ago, even until recent year when I took over. I mean, his best friend in the world, Johnny Cashmere. I also, you know, think there's going to be a lot of people who have personal beefs and personal, you know, issues with each other that are going to put them aside. I mean, it's to do that for this man, it shows what kind of respect everybody has for him.
Yeah.
And what you can expect. There's nobody who is going to go out there and, you know, mail it in. You're going to see a show, you know, in the afternoon at the arena that is going to be like unlike anything else. It's going to be emotional, and it's going to be fantastic. One of the matches is Homicide and B-Boy versus Ruckus and Sanjay Dutt. That could main event pretty much any company there is. I mean, from top to bottom, those four guys are four of the top talents out there, and they're coming in here working for free for the respect they have for this man. And that's not even the main event. Wow. You know, you're going to have guys that old, young, his friends, guys you haven't seen in years, you know, and they're doing this for a good cause, and they're doing this for the right reason. And Acid Fest was named that because Trent loved a few things. He loved wrestling, he loved his friends, he loved his family, and he loved the party. And Trent would have wanted all of his friends and family there to have a big party to see him wrestle.
Well, you know, we're urging all of our fans to check out Acid Fest. Of course, they can find it on Facebook. And, you know, I want to thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and anybody who wants to check it out, they can check it out at czwrestling.com. We're going to start having a lot more coming here after this week. And, you know, just log on, check it out. If you need tickets, they're available at the door, and it's only $10. I mean, people come out for a good cause, and you're going to see a great show.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, DJ Hyde.
Thank you, guys.